Hey, how's it going guys, Chris here and welcome to another Battlefield 1 weapon guide. In this video I'm going to be focusing on one of the medic guns today, the German made Selbstlader M1916, which is another self-loading rifle that fires in a semi-automatic mode. So the Selbstlader Carabiner Mauser M1916, often referred to as just the Mauser M1916, which is a hell of a lot easier to say, was issued in, you guessed it, 1916. After several years of development took place, with Mauser producing a small series of self-loading designs, which eventually led to the M1916, the final iteration. Development to create a self-loading rifle first began in 1897 with the Mauser recoil-operated rifle, and this was improved and altered over the following years. Though unfortunately an early prototype with a faulty locking mechanism malfunctioned during a test, costing Paul Mauser his right eye. Despite this pretty serious injury, undeterred, work still carried on, and the Mauser company continued to develop semi-auto self-loading rifles, eventually leading to the Selbstlader, which name translated over from German to English actually means the self-loader. The M1916 itself was a very high maintenance weapon. Its mechanism had to be kept spotless at all times to avoid malfunctions, and its rounds even had to be lubricated and greased for them to work properly. These factors meant that the M1916 wouldn't have handled infantry combat on the ground very well at all, leaving trench warfare completely out of the question, and the German military took this into account. At the start of World War I, it was rejected by the army and instead adopted by the German Air Corps, though only about 1,000 M1916s were produced due to expensive manufacturing costs. And so the Air Corps eventually turned to the more reliable, albeit less accurate, Mondragon rifle, which was about 3 times cheaper to produce. But anyway, in Battlefield 1, it works completely fine in those muddy trenches, being a game and all. And it can be equipped on one of those medic classes, letting you pick from a total of 3 different variants, the Factory, Optical and Marksman, which I'll go over a bit more later on. For now though, I'm going to get those stats up and see what the M1916 is all about. Damage wise, the gun's on par with the Mondragon, boasting a maximum damage of 40 up to 26 meters, and a minimum damage of 35 at 52 meters and so on, which basically translates as a 3-bullet kill at all ranges. Because the M1916 has a pretty high minimum damage value, this means that it could prove to be a tad more effective at longer distances than some of the other medic rifles like the Serigotti or the M1907, that'll usually require an extra bullet or two to put another player down far away. Not to mention that its muzzle velocity is on the higher side, forcing those bullets out of the barrel at 800 meters per second, which is going to help you out when leading a moving enemy at range too. Although it does have a generally high damage, being able to kill in just 3 bullets, its rate of fire is in fact the slowest of all the medic rifles, shooting at a speed of 224 RPM. This is usually going to make the gun less effective up close, as you won't be able to spam the trigger fast enough to get those rounds out quite as quickly, and you'll easily find yourself being outgunned by a lot of the other faster firing weapons from the assault, medic and support classes, that most people are going to be running around with in those closer quarters, rendering you as a pretty vulnerable target. You're going to stand a much better chance of staying alive by engaging your enemies at medium to longer distances and taking advantage of the gun's greater power at range. So we've established that the M1916 isn't perhaps the go-to gun for raiding any bunkers, unless you're feeling a bit ballsy. Its recoil pattern isn't exactly super smooth either, with a vertical kick of 1 and a horizontal value of 0.3, making the gun jolt around a fair bit after every shot. It might not be the most stable rifle of the pack, though it's probably going to seem about as accurate as the others, with that horizontal value being fairly similar. One of the best aspects, if not the best aspect of using the M1916 has got to be those chunky 26 round magazines, which are really going to help you avoid getting caught out in between those reloads. It's got the biggest mag size in the medic class, and because a lot of the other rifles often have a hard time managing their ammo in heated gunfights, this is going to give you a clear advantage when coming up against several enemies at once, allowing you to keep on gunning where the others often fall short. Now when comparing the 3 different variants, none of them drastically alter the gun's stats in any huge way, and each version is going to retain the same damage, recoil, fire rate and mag size as the others. The Factory variant allows the gun to recover 50% faster from recoil, along with it recovering 100% quicker from spread whilst firing from the hip. This faster recoil decrease will basically reset the gun to its original starting position sooner, allowing you to get your next shot on target in a shorter amount of time. This might make the weapon seem more accurate when firing quicker, by pushing that recoil back down after each kick, and should overall help to improve its ease of use at all ranges too. As for the Optical Variant, this one comes along with its own lens sight and vertical foregrip, which is going to give you an aimed accuracy buff with 25% less base spread whilst moving, along with less spread increase per shot than the factory variant. This version should generally help you to be more accurate when strafing around to line up shots, and should ensure that your bullets are going to land wherever you're aiming and firing at more reliably. It's not going to reduce any recoil, so the Optical Variant is still going to bounce around, but you shouldn't have to worry about any shots randomly veering off from your target quite as much. Last up is the Marksman Variant, which gives you a telescopic sight and a vertical foregrip too. That foregrip grants the Marksman some of the same benefits as the Optical, giving you less spread increase per shot than the factory, though it's going to have slightly less spread than the Optical when stationary, whereas the Optical is going to perform better when on the move. So the Marksman version is better used when standing still than the other variants, plus with that added sight, which should make acquiring targets at range easier, you might find that this is a more effective option at those medium to longer ranges. And because the M1916 works pretty well over distance, this could be a good option if you want to use the gun as a semi-auto sniper. So all in all, the Selbstlader M1916 has some decent damage across all ranges, meaning it can dispatch of enemies further away in a bullet or two less than some of the other rifles. Though it does have the slowest fire rate, which might leave you in a few sticky situations in those close quarter gunfights. Its recoil pattern can seem quite jumpy at times, often putting some of your shots off target, and you might have to get to grips with that kick after every shot. Though with those very generous 26 round magazines, it's not too bad if a couple of your shots miss, as you'll have plenty of ammo in your reserves to back you up. But generally the M1916 is a gun that performs better at medium to longer ranges, where you can tap away one bullet at a time and drop your targets one after the other. But that's all I've got for you this time guys, be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video and found it useful, and subscribe for loads of new content coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.